Hello and welcome to the Scaling Therapy Practice. This is James Marland, your host. This is the show where we encourage you to take intentional steps towards sustainable growth. I am joined with co-hosts Lisa Mustard and Steve Bisso. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad you're here. So this week, we're going to talk about social media and marketing your mental health services through social media. I have a story to start out with, though. I don't know if you've done something after and spent 20, 30 minutes on it and then realized, why am I doing this afterwards? So I had this, Steve knows, I had this, my headset died because my cable was not recording. So we were talking and all of a sudden I can't hear anything and I'm trying to switch audio devices and nothing's working. And so I realized that my cable wasn't tight. So I looked up this YouTube video on how do you fix that? And so it says, well, you might need to pop out the pins a little bit on the cable. And so I got a little magnifying glass in the video. I got this magnifying glass and I got this little screwdriver and that was too big. And then I got a needle and that was starting to work. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Why don't I just switch cables?
Right?
Right.
That's what it is.
And yeah, that worked. That solved the issue right away. I don't know. Can you relate to that?
Oh, yes. I'm sure. I know.
That happens too many times, and mine was having trouble one day, and it was because the cord on the bottom was not attached to the microphone. So I was having a lot of trouble with my microphone for some odd reason because of that.
I've done that too. It hasn't been all the way in, just enough. You think it's in, but then you push on it and you're like, oh, and then you can hear.
Yeah, everything works.
Yeah, no, I've done that so many times.
And I just, I thought that was just a funny story. And sometimes, in business and running things, you try to fix, you just try to get by or scrimp, and all you need to do is just, spend $5 on a cable.
Yeah. So, I get that. I could, oh yeah. Amen.
Yeah, I was just wasting so much time with that one little thing. So we're gonna talk about social media today, and Steve brought up this really cool tool. Steve, why don't you tell us about this social media tool that people can use right now?
Well, talking about some of the stuff that we do is that when we want to get something that's not too expensive, well, Buffer is an app that you can use that is actually free for up to 3 channels, and after that you can add 7, whatever you want, as long as you're paying. But the reason why I like Buffer is that it goes to the major medias. So what do we call it this week? X?
Oh, Twitter.
Formerly Twitter.
Formerly Twitter.
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and others that I probably should know that I don't necessarily know. But basically what you do is you do one post and it will distribute to all those posts without you having to go to every site and doing it. And Buffer does that for free, which is very helpful because I don't know if you've ever spent time trying to do the LinkedIn one and then jumping to Instagram, and it shows up at Facebook, but then you got to do one for Twitter, but Twitter's too many characters, so you got to cut it, find the right all that is taken away from you. And I think Buffer is also working on a AI which will automatically put in those hashtags for you. So that way you don't have to be overly cautious about everything. So Buffer is something that I would recommend to therapists. Very easy to use, free for up to, I think, 3 channels. After that, there is a paid one that can give you, I can't remember, it's 10 channels or something like that. And I find it very useful. So I highly recommend Buffer as a very easy way to distribute to your numerous social media apps that you have.
So you could do Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest or something if you were just on the free plan.
Right. And I do X.
Okay.
But you can go, I think you can go TikTok. You can go, I'm looking at it as we speak, Pinterest. Mastodon, I've never heard of, and I'm sure I should probably know what that is.
It's like X. It's like when.
Oh, okay.
And I think Threads will probably show up eventually. But anyway, that's a good way to do it. So if you're on a budget, there's a free version, and I don't know how much they charge for the full version. Me being only on Instagram, LinkedIn, and X, I have the other ones. I'm just not as active as I am, and I don't put a lot of video, so I don't put TikTok on there. Just an easy way for everyone to get their message out there, whatever that message is, without having to redo your work 3 times.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that tool and tip. It's always good to have time-saving things, and I know I post to certain social media sites, and the biggest hassle for me is just what you said, reposting the same thing to multiple places. That's great. We're going to get into our main topic today of social media for mental health services. And first, before we get into like some of the questions, what are the services you use the most? Like, what is if you had one platform and you were just going to use that, what would you use? What do you think, Lisa?
I only had.
If you just had one.
Oh, I'd use Pinterest if I only had one.
Okay.
I like Pinterest, and I could probably do a whole podcast episode on Pinterest. Pinterest really isn't.
Hey, we're here, right?
Well,
yeah. Take it
but
away.
I want to say Pinterest really isn't social media. It's more of a search engine, but it's used. There is a social component to it, but most people don't use it as a social component. They go there to look for things that they're looking to solve problems for themselves. So that's my favorite. But gosh, if I had to pick another one, I guess Facebook. Although I do like Instagram too. So I don't know. I don't really like social media anymore. I'm kind of over it. So I'm probably not the best person to be on this episode, but I'll give you my honest opinions, and I'll tell you what I do differently instead. That I like.
We'll get there. I can't wait to hear why you're done with social media. What about you, Steve?
Well, I'm just going to put a little social media comment here. It depends on which date we're recording, right, Lisa?
Yes.
Because I remember a time where I saw you post like on pretty much every platform that I follow you on,
right.
And then suddenly you disappear.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hard part about social media. And for me, because of that, Instagram is the one that I find the easiest to post on, to put stuff on, and to share. If you ask me personally what I like better to look at, I definitely am more of a TikTok guy who likes to listen to different things, and I find it a lot more interactive than Instagram. But on a business standpoint, I think Lisa's absolutely right. If you're gonna get more business from Facebook than you will from any other social media, and there's stats that prove that, and I don't have them in front of me. I wish I did, because it's somewhere upstairs in my kitchen. I left them there. I was like, oh, I'm getting ready for this podcast, somewhere over there. But Facebook is definitely what's going to bring you, without the ads. People actually go to Facebook more for the search of therapists and people who can help them in coaching businesses than any other social media app. So you ask me personally, I like TikTok better. My business, I like Instagram. But if I was trying to acquire business, Facebook is the way to go.
Cool. And if I could choose one and be good at it, I would like YouTube. I know it's sort of like not quite I guess it's social media, but I like the teaching aspect of YouTube, and I go to YouTube all the time on like how to do this. I was just talking in the intro, like I went to the YouTube on how to fix my cable. I went to YouTube on how to I had a problem with Kajabi, and I was looking up how to do this thing on Kajabi. Even though Kajabi has its own help services, I went right to YouTube. That's where I went. And I'm starting to like the YouTube shorts, though they're not quite as infectious as the TikTok or even Instagram. I found like TikTok, I would go there for, one thing, and then 30 minutes later, I'm watching like car crash videos with dance music in the background, and, can't get away from it because it's just a virus, that TikTok. So it's a bigger time waster than a learning tool for me. Yeah. But I would love to get really good at YouTube and But that's my personality, right? Like I like teaching, and I like to learn things, and I just admire that a little more than things. So, and it yeah, YouTube for me.
Cool.
So we're gonna ask some questions about social media, and the first question on social media for marketing for a mental health service or practice is why? Why should we even spend time, energy, and money on doing anything for marketing and social media services? And Lisa, if you're a little jaded, you can go the other way and say no, you shouldn't. But what do you think,
Well,
Steve? What do you think? Why? Or go ahead, Lisa. What do you
I just want
think?
to preface it and say I'm not marketing for private practice, so I have to keep that in mind. Like I don't have a private practice. I use it mainly to market the podcast, and I
Mhm.
guess I guess let me take that back. I do life coaching, so I do market the life coaching, but I market that mainly through the podcast more than I do on social media. So it's probably how I'm looking at it. Yeah.
Noted.
Oh,
Well,
go ahead. Oh, sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, for your private practice, the word of mouth is key. And sometimes you can go on Google ad, but there's less interaction. I think that what happens, and this comes from a business coach I worked with, one of the things that I still struggle with is to put videos of myself or talking about stuff. And I know Lisa does a good job at doing those lives or talking about her own stuff. And I always find that fascinating. And that's what will attract people um, from social media to come to become a client or whatever you want to call them, patient, whatever the case may be. Um, and I know that my business coach, she has done a fantastic job at that. So she is very much out there and she gets the business based on that. I use it more of sharing my ideas or sharing stuff, such as I put on, for me, I put a lot of like on Mondays is my kind of like spiritual Mondays. I put spiritual Mondays, Tuesdays, trauma Tuesdays, Wednesdays, my podcast. Thursday is when I try to do something, personal. Friday is Friday Funnies, and then Saturday is always like a hodgepodge, usually first responder stuff. But ultimately, I think that what happens is I've gotten some business based upon people knowing my personality based on those posts. But I definitely get much more comments if I put like, I think this about 9 months ago, I said, "Oh, I struggle with selfies. I hate selfies and all that." And then suddenly I had like 27 different comments about how to take a good selfie or you're looking good or whatever. So I'm like, my God, I try hard with all these deep thought processes, and all I needed to say is I have trouble with selfies. But I think it's because people like to see the human side, and I think that's probably why that one had more comments and more buzz. And to this day, I have clients once in a while who will say to me, "So, have you mastered that selfie thing yet?" So
Hmm.
it does pay off a little bit in that way. But that's why you would need social media to a certain extent. Uh, do I think that it's necessarily for all businesses? I mean, we've talked about different things, right? Niches. We've talked about websites. We've talked about SEOs. I think that social media, people can survive without social media. I just think that it helps create more of a personality and who you are. And it really identifies all that stuff. I didn't know Lisa from a hole in a wall other than she would post about her own struggles or she would talk about what she's done with, health and fitness and things like that. And I think that that really helped me like, oh my God, I want to contact Lisa, which ended up I contacted Lisa. And I think that it wasn't because she put in something that was deeply spiritual, but rather she was herself. So that's what I think
Hmm.
social media really exposes is who you are.
Cool. Well, thanks. It worked.
How's
It
that
works.
SEO?
Shut
Yeah.
up.
Hey. But no, but I think that, we joke around, but, it did work, but we're so, like I feel close to
Yeah.
Lisa because of that. And it really is from her social media posts. And I have 2 clients who keep on saying that and she sends me screenshots sometimes of text between friends. They're like, they saw you they saw you, we told her it was cool. And then they're exchanging, oh, that's a Steve statement. And they literally, I'm like part of their conversation. And it's kind of cool to see that they like, oh, did you see Steve's post or whatever? So that's kind of how you get that buzz going.
Yeah, you're building your
So do you?
personal brand. I mean, that's what you're doing on social media. Is like you're building your personal brand. So what you talk about is what you want to be known for, But you got to be careful, because if you talk about something you don't want to be known for, then you start to go down that path. So I've over the years of like been down so many different paths with what I'm doing or what I'm sharing, but it's been the consistency of showing up. So the fact that I'm not as on social media as I used to be, I was on it for so long and for so much that people notice like when I'm not on there, and they're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just taking a break." So when I do show up, they're like, "Oh, you're back." It's like it's weird. I had this one lady tell me, this was like I don't even know where I was. She was like, "Oh, I know you. You're Facebook famous." I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Okay." That was local. That was a local lady. And I was
Oh,
like, "Oh, we
wow.
know each other." And she's like, "No, but I see your stuff. We don't really know each other, but I see your stuff, so I kind of know you. I know what you're about." That was wild, you know?
Yeah, nobody has ever recognized me from mine.
Not
Oh,
yet.
you do that.
Not
Yeah,
Right.
not
yet.
yet. That's true. I am going to Whitney's conference, so maybe I'll see somebody. It's my first year of podcasting and my second year at the conference, so maybe I'll get
Cool.
maybe.
That's exciting.
Oh, you're that podcaster dude. So Steve, you were mentioning all these posts. Do you do it all yourself, or do you contract it out? Like, how do you get all that stuff out there?
Well, me and my whole team of really do a lot of good work. And I think that there's value in both. Honestly, um, I'm I don't think I'm a control freak, but I like to control what's out there for my brand and what I put out. Because I once used someone to do some of my social media accounts, and like they would put some random stuff that meant nothing to me, and I
Mm,
was always like, ugh, I don't like that. It
mm-hmm.
wasn't because it wasn't appropriate. It was just like, yeah, I don't know if I even believe that. So I ended up, call it control, call it whatever you want, and just going back quickly for buffer, you can set up to a month in advance all your posts. And that helps for me to do it on a daily basis. Every morning, try to figure out something to say. Um, but I think it is about, creating your personal brand and who you are. And I think that that's what, like Lisa is famous, obviously, as we know. And
Absolutely.
even in my local area, I haven't had quite the whole social media thing, but I've had, oh, you're the straight to point therapy guy. Well, I'm like, I guess
Mm,
I am. And so it does get a little bit more buzz than we want to believe. And
Mm,
that's not the worst thing in the world.
right.
So Lisa, you were talking about building a personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you worked at? Like you knew you were doing it, or was it something that just sort of you were building your brand and you stumbled into it?
I think a little bit of both. Was trying to. Well, this was years ago when I was much younger, 10 years ago, when I started to use Facebook more like strategically, I guess, to kind of get my brand out there. So I had heard build your personal brand. So I was looking at that, trying to understand how you do that. And this is when Facebook Live was really big. So I
Hmm.
started to go live. Like I would go live all the time, and I was always just trying to add value. And I think that I prefer long form content over short form. So for me, like doing a reel or a TikTok with like the points, like that's harder for me than it is to just like do a live and like explain something or talk about something. But yeah, no, it was something that I was intentional about. And really, there's two ways if you want to like get customers or clients through social media. The first one is you have to have a personal brand. You have to be consistent on social media. You have to, show up. But it takes time, and it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of trying new things, and it's a lot of work, and it's a marathon, right? Or you can go the other route of running ads and just put some money behind it and get it out there. Be targeted in so you can work to grow your personal brand, but if you have the money and you just want to speed up the time to getting those clients, I would definitely be running ads on social media platforms. Now, which one should you do depends on what you're selling, and I think what you're trying to do. Um, but there's all kinds of ways. Like, I mean, I went live every time I had a live, I had a call to action, like join my Facebook group, um, send me a DM. sign up for this newsletter. Really it's just you're getting out there and you're providing value and you're asking for their email. You're asking for something in return. So you're giving value and then you're asking for something in return. Similar to podcasting, like you have your value content and then in return you're like, hey, if you like this, come sign up for my, newsletter or get my free download or my freebie. So it's, that's what it's used for. And like Steve was saying, we haven't always had social media. So, but so it's taken time for people to kind of figure out how they want to use it and how they want to show up. You can definitely use it for the good, as I like to call it, and be the light, be the positivity, have the hope, be kind, share genuine content, be authentic. But I think, I just kind of, the reason I've taken a step back is I'm just really tired of being glued to my phone. I'm just tired of scrolling. I feel like it takes away from my creativity. It definitely takes away from the time I'm spending with my family. So I've been a lot more aware of how much time I'm spending on it. And then when I'm on it, I'm a lot more intentional than I used to be. So I feel like I just kind of bleh about social media.
Yeah.
I do that.
I took it off. So I've been a little more absent from social media because I used to, um, I was on Facebook a lot and I was trying to go into groups and just one of my coaches said, go into groups and just add value, share. So I was doing a lot of that. But I was always on my phone. I just felt like I was always on my phone. And so I took it off my phone and now I feel like I'm missing some of the contact, but I also have some of my time back. So I'm just like,
right.
How do I do that? Well, probably how I do that is put it on the calendar and do it like daily. Steve said he was doing stuff daily. Just do 30 minutes a day of looking to add value and be social and get out there and build your presence and build your brand, but not by selling, buy my course creation kit or listen to my podcast. But I can answer some questions from people. That's what I would do. I would go to like creative therapists who are creating things and go into their groups and just, if somebody asked a question about Canva or something, I would answer it. If somebody asked a question about podcast editing, I would be like, oh, I use this program and this is how I do it. I would just try to add value and be known in the community, create that personality rather than, run ads about courses. So
Yeah.
that's how I would try to build my thing. But dropping down, I feel like I lost that a little bit. Well, not a little bit, a lot of it, because it's not there on my phone dinging at me all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's move to has anybody made mistakes with social media? What are some mistakes to avoid when you're trying to market your therapy services or services to therapists? What are some mistakes to avoid?
I think one mistake is, one thing to avoid is trying to be everywhere all at the same time. So, like, pick the social media platform where your ideal clients are or your target audience is. So if you know you want to target Gen X, well, I don't know. I guess a lot of my peers are on TikTok these days, but they're pretty much going to be on Facebook. Of course, they're going to be some on Instagram, but you could, if you want to, target professionals. Are you over on LinkedIn? Like, you just have to know where people are going. Millennials, probably more Instagram, TikTok. I don't know. But you just need to be present where your target audience is. In fact, I just recorded an episode on this earlier with somebody on defining your target.
Is it out yet?
No, it's probably not going to come out for a couple weeks, but
well, this won't come out for like 3 or 4 weeks. Maybe we can
I'll let you know when it comes out.
But
that's what she was saying. I mean, she's a full-time copywriter. Is really knowing your target audience is so important to know your target audience. Like, she won't even work with you until you have defined your target audience. Because what point is her copywriting? Like, But that will be my number one thing is, like, just don't try to be everywhere all at once, because you don't have to. You really don't.
How about you, Steve? You got a mistake you want to tell on yourself about?
Um, I would say social desirability.
Ooh, what is that?
So basically, what I started off is I'm going to appeal to James, Lisa, John, Jane, 1,400 people,
Right.
because that's
Yeah.
how I'm going to build a brand.
Sure.
And that was a huge mistake. That's what I mean about social desirability. I was desirable socially because it was very bland, very easy to read, and really just got a lot of people kind of like looking at it, go, hum, and move on. But when I started saying things that I truly believed and trying to be myself and trying to put stuff that like I said, I had someone for a short while doing my social media, and I just didn't believe in the message that they were putting out there. They tried their best. They weren't trying to be mean by any stretch, and it wasn't anything bad, but it was like that vanilla stuff that I'm not very good at. I'm not a vanilla guy, as probably this podcast puts out, and I didn't need to be that way in social media. So I'm a little more pointed, and there's stuff like get off your ass and do something is kind of more my message. Versus, oh no, wait till therapist shows up at your door and says, "Hey, do you need help?" And then you'll go, "Yay!" And then, like I don't, and healing yourself through social media is also something that I push really hard at the beginning. I'm like, "Oh no, that's great, you got something out of social media." But if you're going to build your brand and you're going to scale your therapy practice, you talked about niche last week. We talked about SEO, and not picking on anything here, Lisa, I promise, but it was really about getting to what your message is going to be. And for me, like someone gave me the name for my therapy, the name of my private practice, Straight to the Point Therapy, because they're like, that's who you are. You're not someone who's going to be like, oh yeah, continue doing things that are destructive. Oh yeah, that's great. No, I'm like, oh, that's f***ed up. You need to stop that. And I need to put that on my social media because that's who I am. And I think that that's one of the mistakes I made is I tried to be way too much for too many people, and I wasn't myself. And I think that would be the one mistake I would say that I've made.
That was insightful. And I think it kind of parallels a little bit of what some of the struggles I've had just starting out is I have all these ideas and things, and I have I come from the virtual assistant world, so I have a lot of resources on virtual assistant. I like AI. I have my course creation business. I have the podcast where it's scaling therapy practice, and I believe that too many messages dilutes the impact of the message. And I feel like that's one of my big mistakes is I'm trying to figure out what works, but I'm also not killing I think we talked last week about the pumpkin plan. I'm not killing the seeds that are draining the vine. I'm sort of like trying to keep everything going. And that's not creating a unified personality, unified, strong social media presence. It's like, what is he known for? He's known for like 30 things. So if he's known for 30 things, he's not known for anything. So I know Lisa as the podcasting or pod courses person,
Yeah.
and Steve, I'm getting to know as like, if you need a kick, he's going to give it to you. He's going to speak. He's going to give it to you straight type of person. Those are great. So that is one of my mistakes. Any other mistakes as somebody's doing social media? What about with ads? Can people make mistakes with ads and like wasting money?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, you can. I'm not an ads expert by any means. I mean, I would.
Have you ever run a successful
Uh-huh.
ad?
Oh
Like
yeah.
where people?
Like
So what did you
So in the
do?
beginning, when I first started the pod courses, like right when I launched the show, I knew that, I mean, I had known forever that I needed an email list because it's really hard to sell over and over again on social media because the algorithm, your stuff's only seen like a small percentage. And so I ran an ad on Facebook to grow my email list. And what I was offering was a free continuing education contact hour. So, I mean, I just put a little bit of money. I don't even know if I just boosted a post or something. And I targeted it to, people who identified as their profession was in you can pick from all these different interests and occupations. And so I just did my best to be smart with it. Probably could have hired somebody to do it a little bit better, but it definitely grew my list. I've had a lot of good luck running ads on Pinterest. Pinterest is a lot less expensive at least what I found for my conversion rate. So I've grown email. I mean, I'm always like, I'm using social media to grow my leads, so I'm going to direct people to an email, sign up for an email or download or freebie always.
Yeah.
So
I guess that would be a mistake to avoid
Yeah.
is like just growing your social media list to grow your social media
Right.
list. You're growing your social media list to grow your contact
Right.
list.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to enough Amy Porterfield podcasts and Jenna Kutcher podcasts to know, like, do not start anything
Yeah.
without having an email list, because that's like, because social media could go down any day. Remember, was that 2 years ago when we lost Instagram and Facebook? How many people were panicking because they lost their Facebook group where they were just selling their stuff to all the time? I didn't panic because I was like, I got my email list. Like, I'm okay. I still have an email list. It was still growing because I was doing my marketing over on Pinterest. But we relied too much on social media when really we need to be relying on growing that email list or working to grow the email list, I think. So if you're running ads, then make sure you are directing them to something that you can convert to a lead and that you can measure. And don't hire me to do your ads because I'm not an ad person. Just know that. I don't have like a special formula or anything. I just know they can work when you have the right formula down.
Have you ever run ads, Steve?
I've run ads for a course I run to start your own private practice.
Okay.
And the best way to describe it is when I said, start your own private practice got a ROI, a return on investment that was very poor. But when I said, are you looking to grow your practice? Are you looking to start your practice? And I started off with a question. I saw that the ad gave me an ROI that was significantly better. And I think that when you offer something, like you said, a freebie or like an answer to a question they might have, do you want to go to a CU class or do you want to do it while you're walking? And most people will be like, ooh, that's interesting. Let me click on that. So what I found very helpful in the ads is if you start off with a question or what you're going to give away, free advice on anxiety. Most people are willing to click on that. If you say anxiety is difficult, people will be like, yeah, we all know that and move on.
It's true. Yeah.
So for the advice that I would give about the ads, and I just realized I swore twice and I hadn't sworn before. I swear a lot in my private life. I hope that's okay. I don't know what, I don't want to make
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, bleep me out. But point being is, like, it wasn't about the money. Like, I like what Lisa said about Pinterest. It was really about what I was offering, because if you're not offering anything on social media to grow your email list, to offer a CU, to offer a course, to offer whatever, and there's no solution to their problem, like put a question where there's going to be a solution to it and that you're offering. I think that would be the best ads that I've had, and that's been successful on Facebook, on Instagram, and I've never done Pinterest. But I think that, where was the other one? I did it somewhere else, and I'm blanking right now because I want to tell you. But I did it somewhere else, and that was a great return on investment. When I just said something like course on your private practice, or do you how to start a private practice, it was just not getting the hit that I wanted. But I offered a question that would have a solution in my response, and I think that really is the best ads you can do. By the way, you cannot consult. You can consult me all you want. I'm not an expert. I will redirect you to Lisa, who will redirect you to someone else.
Yeah.
And I use levity too. By the way, I just want to mention too, one of the things I find also gets a lot of hits on social media is if you use levity. And I use that, you've heard my podcast, you hear me here. And even in my social media, levity goes a long way for a whole lot of people.
Can you give an example of that?
Well, we did episode 1 of season 2 together, and you talked about the SEO, and you blocked me on you blocked me on text because you don't want me to bother you about it.
I didn't
So it's a
block
recurring. I know, but that's a recurring theme.
Oh.
So now that I bring it up, everyone now they remember SEO, and of those who get only to episode 4, they're like, the hell are they talking about? Now I just said episode 1. then they go back to it.
Okay.
So with
Yeah.
levity, you create something that people will have curiosity. What the hell does Steve mean? What is it? Why is he picking on Lisa?
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about your microphone issue. I
Mhm.
hopefully, the stuff that I did is if people go back to whatever that episode is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just letting people just guess. And I joked around with you about it, and I just let it, no one noticed. Well, you noticed, I noticed.
Right.
And it just like creates that levity and like an inside joke, so to speak, that only
Mhm.
like your audience knows. And
Mhm.
I think that that's what helps with that levity. So that would be one of the examples. One of the things I keep on going is people who always talk about the future. I'm a Buddhist, so you got to live the moment. 5 years from now is not a given. So I always kind of like remind people that I put this on regularly on my social media. What's your 5-year plan? Listen, buddy, I'm just trying to get to Friday.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. That's
Great.
good.
So our last question is sort of like, well, where are you having success with your social media now, and how did you get there? I don't know if you can encapsulate that into a short story or something, but where are you finding success, and how did you get there?
Being myself. The easiest answer I can give is that, the stuff that's on there, if you know me a little bit, James, and Lisa knows me a little better because of the history. And, when she sees that post, sometimes she probably doesn't even have to like, oh, who said that? No, she probably has a vague idea of who I am. And when I see something about, an email list or a freebie that's related to some of the health stuff or even for podcasting, oh, that's got to be Lisa. And I don't even have to look at the name. So if you're consistent with your message, and that's why I have themes every single day of the week, except Sunday, I've started to not post on Sunday. I just decided that a couple of months ago. It creates that, oh, yeah, right. Steve's going to be funny on Friday, or maybe he'll put that monkey again who's trying to get to Friday. It creates this consistency, and that I think that that's what's important.
How about you, Lisa?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Success. Where have you found
Mm.
success, and how would you tell somebody to get there?
So my success is crazy. I think because like during COVID, I really took the opportunity to do Facebook Lives. And at the time, I was repping an activewear brand. So I would do a workout like 3 times a week on Facebook Live in the clothes. But I would give a workout. So I was giving like, here's the workout I'm doing today. And I would write it out and I'd tell people, do this workout, whatever. Oh, and if you're wondering about the clothes, blah, 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 come join my Facebook group. And so I was able to generate a lot of interest. But I mean, let's face it, I'm doing a workout in workout clothes. So everybody's watching. Like someone's going to watch, someone's going to scroll, they're going to stay on the video. So I got a lot of, I'll just say attention. Looking back, am I proud of it? Like I knew what I was doing. I sold some activewear and that was my goal, right? I still wear the activewear. I still work out. So I mean, just be brave, try new things. Don't be afraid to go live. You can pivot at any time. You can just give value. Like figure out what what you can share, and be you. Like Steve was saying, like just be yourself. Don't worry about the people who aren't gonna like it because you're not their cup of tea. You can't please everybody, right? And it's we've all figured this out with our podcast. Like we know, like we've all come to this point in podcasting where we make a decision to like do what everybody else is doing, or do we go our own path and figure out like what we want to talk about and who we want to talk to and how we want to be creating content. So it's similar with social media. You have to put yourself out there. So I would just encourage people, like if you want to build a brand, you got to put yourself out there. You have to be consistent. It is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't be afraid to go live. Don't be afraid to do the live stuff. People will watch because they're super curious, and chances are they wish they could be doing what you're doing. So they're really curious
Mhm.
about how you're showing up. Like I follow people on Instagram, women that are older than me, and how they're showing up, and I'm like, darn, she's got some like good for her. Like, do I want to show up like that? She gets me thinking like, okay, at 50, still got some life in me here. I still have things to offer. I still have a voice. Follow people who inspire you, who bring you up. You don't have to follow people just because people are following them. Like, I unfollow people all the time because certain things showing up in my feed, I just don't have I don't want that energy in my life. Like, that's the beautiful thing about it. It's our feed. We can curate it. We can see what we want. So, excuse me. I don't necessarily know where I'm going, but I guess it's just, if you're going to build your personal brand, you got to put yourself out there. You have to get visible. I think like you're doing with going into groups and adding value, like, I think that can work, but it also gets really tiring after a while. And you find like it's like busy work. It's almost like, yes, I could find somebody who needs what I have by doing this, but you could also be posting on your own wall and just make a commitment to yourself that every day you're going to go live, or you're going to have a reel, or, you got to know what's working with the algorithm, of course. But if your stuff is good and people like it and it's shareable, that's what you want. You want people to resonate with what you're putting out there. So I'm not necessarily sure if what I'm saying is helping people who are listening. Like I said, I don't have a private practice. I don't think if I was growing a private practice, I would not be going this route. I would be going a different route of, networking, like Steve was saying, and connecting with people, and being a referral, and getting out into my community and really pounding the pavement and talking to people, going to the counselor meetups, that kind of stuff. Which work because, like, I go to my counselor meetups here. I'm not a therapist in private practice, but man, I walk away with people wanting to hire me to coach them. So, in whatever it is that they want to create next. So, I just say be brave and put yourself out there. And it's, social media, it's like testing. It's testing your marketing, and some things are going to flop and some things are going to soar, but don't take it down because you never know who's going to come across it. Like, I'll post a video and it might get like 3 likes or 3 views, but 5 weeks later, somebody might reach out and go, "Hey, you came across my feed for some reason, and I saw you talking about this." Like, don't take it down. Keep it up. Like, just because you don't get that immediate likes that you normally do, just keep it there. Somebody will see it. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And we've all heard those stories where something blows up
Yeah.
weeks or months or years
It's weird.
after for some reason. Yeah.
Social media is a blessing and a curse. You have to be aware of the limitations, and you have to realize that so many people are trying to get attention that you have to almost be a shocking personality for some things, or you just have to continually show up and give good value. I don't know of another way to do it. That's why I love podcasting. I feel like it's a wonderful tool for therapists. And I think I'm just going to put this out there. I think every therapist in private practice should have a limited series podcast about who they are and what they do. So you listen to me, therapist friend who is trying to grow a private practice, especially in private pay. I'm talking to you, my friend. A limited series podcast about who you help and how you do it. 8 to 10 episodes, 15, 20 minutes. Give them enough information that they are begging to work with you. Yeah, and it's evergreen. Yeah. They will find you, have a lead magnet, have a call to action, want a free consultation. Like, if I was in private practice, that's what I would be doing.
Awesome.
That's just
Good
me.
message.
Well, that's great, Lisa. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
I have so many thoughts. It was okay.
So let's move to the takeaway. What's one thing you want the audience to take away from this episode if they could only remember one thing in their brain? Steve, do you have one thing for them?
I think that what I love the most of what was said today is the target audience, that person would not work with anyone who's going to be on your podcast. Having that target audience in mind at all times. I think that if there was one takeaway, that's kind of what I've learned. But you saying it so pointedly in a good way, and even at the end telling, "Hey, listen, I'm talking to your therapist." It really, and you're joking, but I also think that without all joking aside, I think that's exactly what people need to hear. Target your audience. Give them something to get to know you, because I know that I can be abrasive for some people, and for other people, like, I need someone who's abrasive. Perfect. That's great. So target your audience, and I think that would be the first the takeaway that I would have for today.
Yeah.
And how about you, Lisa?
Gosh, I mean, I love this conversation. I think there's a lot of takeaways. But I would suggest, like Steve was saying, know your target audience and know that you don't have to be everywhere. Just go where your target audience is and get really good using that platform. Pick 1 or 2 platforms and just be consistent. Post, in the beginning, you might have to post twice a day, mix it up, use some video, whatever that platform is, favoring. Figure out what that platform is favoring and give the platform what it wants, is what I would say. And then have a call to action. Always have a call to action. And it should be to an email list if you're not sure what you want to do quite just yet. Like, always have a call to action that get them on an email or something.
Fantastic. Great advice. My one takeaway is, like, your personality is what's going to attract people to you. If you're bland, like if you're just posting, this is my service, but you're not posting those things that generate interest, like the Facebook Lives or just, hey, I can't take a selfie, right, Steve?
I still don't.
You get, yeah, I know. Well, those are the things that generate the interest, because I do some social media posts for other people, and I can spend lots of time on, like, this is their course and this is their thing. And then they'll post one thing like, hey, it's like, this is my birthday, or my kids went to school today. And they're like, oh, they get all the comments on those personal things, not the like, they're still looking at the other things, but they get the reaction from the personality and from the things that people connect with. And so I am afraid. So this is my secret. I'm afraid, like, I like Godzilla and like Marvel movies and science fiction and like Dungeons and Dragons. Like, how many therapists like connect with me on those types of things? Like,
You'd be surprised.
I don't know.
You would be surprised. Like, you would, I mean, seriously, we'll just see what happens, because you don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
I will let my nerd flag
Yeah.
fly a little bit and see what happens.
Yeah. Let it fly.
And see, like, in the background, you can, if you're on the video, you can see my Legos back there. I have some Legos and toys and stuff. That's me. Like, that is me. And I am a little bit of afraid to be like, oh, do I want to buy a course from this guy who has Star Wars Legos on his shelf? Like, I don't know. But you are encouraging me.
Yeah. I mean, you need to do it. See what happens. I mean, because those are your people, James, and they want to create
they are my people,
and they might want to create a course.
Yeah.
So you don't, and they're looking for somebody, and they may be like, oh, this guy doesn't speak my language, but James, he knows Legos, and they bond. Like, that's what it's about. People buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
People buy from those that they know, like, and trust. Did you hear me? Because that is how this works.
Heard you.
Okay, let's just remember that.
All right. Well, let's awesome. Let's wrap with that. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Lisa, for joining us. This is the show where we encourage you to take small steps towards sustainable growth. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for listening to the Scaling Therapy Practice. If you have any questions about marketing or some comments about some of the content of the show, please send them to james@coursecreationstudio.com. We're looking to do, our 12th episode is going to be a Q&A show. So we're hoping to get some questions from the audience that we can answer during that show with the panel. We really appreciate the support you're giving to the show, the likes, the shares, the reviews. So keep those coming. I would like to thank Dawn Gabriel of Soul Care for Therapists, Steve Bisson from Finding Your Way Through Therapy, and Lisa Mustard of the Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard for dedicating their time to make this an awesome show. It's so much better having them give their wisdom and insights. They just make the show better every time that they are here. So I wanted to shout out to them. You can find them with the links in the show notes to their pages and what they offer, and give their individual shows a listen. That would be awesome. We are a show that is for education, entertainment purposes. If you are looking for legal or accounting services or advice, please look for a professional in those areas. Scaling Therapy Practice is part of the SciCraft Network.
PsychMaven is proud to support the Scaling Therapy Practice podcast. If you go to stp.psychmaven.com, you can take our free personal inventory and find out what your builder type is as a helping professional. This assessment is quick and fun, and it comes with tons of customized resources with your results, so you can discover the best ways to scale that match your own personality. Find the assessment at stp.psychmaven.com.